I think H.P. Lovecraft would have loved to have been the inspiration of so much beautiful dark art, especially in metal, be it in lyrics or album covers. Eldritch abominations and otherworldly horrors our human minds cannot possibly comprehend are pretty commonplace. An example of this would be the sophomore album of a Portland death metal band that goes by the evocative name of Ritual Necromancy. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, this is Disinterred Horror. Ritual Necromancy play an ungodly mix of death, doom, and black, with just a smidge of sludge lurking in the background. The music is concocted from death, black, and doom style riffs, sometimes chimeras made from a combination thereof, striking drums that keep the pulse as well as raise it, and vocals that don't seem to know the meaning of the word clean. The more or less typical Dark Descent production is pivotal here, as the organic sounding snares, low kicks, paradoxically both muddy and clear guitars contribute greatly to the building of this aura of sprawling darkness. The vocals are especially gnarly, and they're one of the main sources of the feeling embedded in the songs. The low growls drenched in reverb sound like they're coming from the other side. On the flip side, because of how low the register is, it's pretty impossible to understand what the lyrics are, but the contribution of the vocals to the atmosphere is undeniable. Speaking of which, I think it's safe to say that this album is, at its heart, gothic horror boiled down to music form. The mood is indicative of bad things happening in storm cellars, unspeakable terrors from fuck knows where crossing over through ancient portals and ill-advised rituals. Kicking off with bells in the background, the opening track, To Raise the Writhing Shadows, slowly builds up its pace and eases you into the proceedings. Now that is how you start an album. Then comes Command the Sigil, or as I like to call it, the best track on the album, with its unrelenting pace, savage riffs, and impeccable flow. The third track, Discarnate Machination, continues this trend, and although it slows things down just a touch, all of this makes for a captivating experience full of surprising twists and turns, the churning riffs moving you through the frantic scenery and engrossing you in the horrors that await in the deep. But then Cybellum Esphorus happens. This particular slogfest brings the album to a screeching and ultimately fatal halt. It's the longest track on here at 11 minutes plus, and it collapses under the weight of its own ambitions. It starts with a standard song length of an intro of the same 8 bars repeated over and over and over again. It's so one note and so repetitive that it gets boring. Now, I started writing reviews way back when with Doom and Doom Sludge albums, so I'm used to long songs and stretched out intros, meaning that I could have overlooked this if the track kicked off after this lengthy intro. It just doesn't. Instead, it just sort of dissolves into this ritualistic choir section before trying to crawl its way forward. The pace is slowed down so much by that point that when it picks up again, I find it hard to be invested anymore. And it doesn't help that the final track, Disinterred Horror, suffers from the same symptoms and so succumbs to the same fate, which is a fucking shame because it is still a nice, if problematic, track for the same reasons. But by that point, that one just rolls in. I'm already so far removed from the album that it doesn't really matter anymore. For me, this problem of pacing is significant enough to rank the album pretty low, mainly because the issue takes up about half the album's length and is made more glaring by the fact that things started out pretty goddamn strong, which leads me to think that maybe shorter songs could have benefited them more. I mean, Command the Sigil is the shortest track on here at 4 minutes plus, and it is easily the most engaging and the most savage. Food for thought, guys. But overall, despite not quite reaching the places that they wanted to, Ritual Necromancy still came up with a pretty heavy album. I think Doom Death, and Blackened Death fans may get a kick out of this, and I am still curious to find out what they will come up with next. So, did you listen to this album? If you did, what did you think of it? Please let me know in the comments below. If you didn't listen to it yet, there's a Bandcamp link in the description. Click that, go listen, and then let me know what you think. If you like my style, please subscribe and help me form a choir to sing the evil into submission so it will do our bidding from now on. Peace out.